Hi, my name's Kelsey, and in a fit of New Year's inspiration that I'll probably regret later, I decided that I was going to do all sorts of things this year. I was going to tap dance, volunteer, start a Booktube channel. So here I am filming a video in hopes that I'll actually have the courage to put it up online. So I had to come up with a name for my Booktube channel. And I was looking around, what are the things I like? I like a lot of things. And I thought hats. I like fancy hats. And in particular, I have this one hat that my roommate gave me for graduation. And I absolutely cannot find an occasion in my life to wear this outside of my front door without being horribly embarrassed. So I figure that's what the internet is for, right? I can wear my fancy hat on the internet. So that's how I got the idea for the name of my channel. I hope you like it. I hope you don't think the hat is too dorky. If it's too dorky, I'll ditch the hat or get a tamer hat or something. This hat will also, I hope, give me courage, and I can sort of imagine that when I'm wearing, you know, an outrageous hat, I have some sort of internet anonymity. Like, if I put on the hat, no one will know it's really me, right? That's how it works, right? So you should know probably a bit of the sort of books that I read. I read a lot of fantasy, both adult and young adult. I read a little bit of sci-fi, some classics. I've been trying to dig into some of those big, mostly British classics that I never got around to before. And I read a little historical fiction and maybe some mysteries and little bits of other things. I might try to read some assorted academic nonfiction of various subjects that I'm interested in as well. So this video has two parts. The first part is the Booktube Newbie tag, and the second part is just a recap of some of the most recent books that I've really liked that I read in 2015, the year that has just come to a close. So, the Booktube Newbie tag was created by Brenda C, and I can link the video, her original video, down below. The first question is, why did you start this channel? So this is sort of a crazy impulse. 2015 was the year that I really started reading again for fun after I graduated from college. And I discovered the existence of Booktube only about a month ago, I want to say. And since then, I've noticed how often I'm like just talking to myself in the mirror about the books that I've read. And I thought, why not talk to the internet instead? Wouldn't that be more fun than someone might hear you? I will add, sort of in the spirit of the question, that I do hope that talking to the internet about my reading will help me enjoy my reading more. If at any point I feel like it's adding unnecessary pressure and it's making me enjoy my reading less, I'm gonna call it quits. So I'm probably gonna be pretty casual about this channel. I won't do a whole lot of videos, but I'll try to keep them fairly regular. And that's that. Number 2. What are some fun and unique things you can bring to Booktube? Well, my hat, isn't that obvious? Also, my Victorian ladies, because I have, yow, oh dear. This is going to take some practice, not banging up my hat as I go whacking Victorian ladies through the air. I have some of these old antique Victorian fashion plates that I really love, and I decorate my apartment with them. So when I actually have some sort of nook set up somewhere, you'll probably be seeing more of these. I have these that are this one is all hats. Can you see? all of those hats. So this one I need to frame and get put up somewhere really, really nice. Let's put the hats in front. There we go. Can you see those? I can't see what you can see. Yeah, I'm not sure if that was what was meant by the question of fun and unique things you can bring to Booktube. But we're moving on. 3. What are you most excited for about this new channel? Okay, I did some thinking and I decided to combine my answer to this question with the answer to number 7, which was the last question on the tag. But number 7 was, what challenges do you think will be hardest to overcome in starting a Booktube channel? I honestly think for me these are one and the same thing. And the answer is the internet and technology and social media. I am hopeless, absolutely hopeless at all of these things. And so it terrifies me. So I'm hopeful that the Booktube community full of bookworms who read like me is going to be a safe and fun place to start dabbling in these things that are important in the 21st century, which we live in. We regrettably live in the 21st century, not in this one. Never mind. Bum ba bum ba bum. Bum ba bum ba bum 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 bum. Number 4. Why do you love reading? I decided to take a really analytical approach to this question. On the one hand, reading can challenge us intellectually and help us expand our horizons. On the other hand, reading can sweep us off our feet with a good old-fashioned story and entertainment value, and I like to think that I equally value both. So, I want to bring both sides of my enjoyment to reading to this Booktube channel. 5. What book or series got you into reading? Do you like my hat? So I know I'm taking this way more literally than the question probably intended, but Go Dog Go by P.D. Eastman was literally the book that my dad used to teach me to read as a small child, and it had that funny hat joke in it, so I couldn't resist. 6. What questions would you ask your favorite booktuber? So I'm also going to take this probably in a more lighthearted nature than was intended, but I've noticed that a lot of booktubers seem to share my passion for tea. So a question I would ask the tea enthusiasts of Booktube, whoever you are out there, is what type of tea do you like to drink while you are reading? Right now, I will say my favorite is probably jasmine green tea. I got some really nice jasmine pearls for Christmas. I love them. And it's so aromatic and it smells nice and it's calming. But now I'm just rambling about tea. Anyways, that's the end of the Booktube Newbie tag because I took the last question from the end and stuck it in the middle. I almost forgot, you're supposed to tag people at the end of tags. That's how they work. So tag new booktubers. So this is a 2-part video because I feel like I can't send you away without talking about any books. So what I did is I got together a list of all of my 5-star ratings on Goodreads since June, which is when I started letting Goodreads keep track of such things. I'm just going to be really quick with these, I hope. I realized when I put together this list that all of these are actually fantasy novels. That's not all I read, I promise. But I have 2 fantasy classics and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 adult fantasy novels. So the first of my fantasy classics is The Last Unicorn by Peter S. Beagle. I have no idea how I was unaware of the existence of this book for so long. This is just beautiful. This is just beautiful. If you love like classic, lyrical, sort of bittersweet fantasy, I highly recommend this. I recently became aware that there is also an animated film adaptation, which I was also totally unaware of. It's on Netflix. I don't know if I should watch it. Should I watch it? My next fantasy classic that I actually both read the book and saw the movie for the first time this year is The Princess Bride by William Goldman. And I read this book before seeing the movie, actually. I think a lot of people do it in reverse and they get confused or disappointed in the book. But I really enjoyed reading the book before seeing the movie because I loved both so much. The thing that I think stymies some people about the book is it's presented as Goldman's abbreviation of a much longer, stuffier text where he thinks he's extracted like the exciting story from this fictional book, The Princess Bride by S. Morgenstern. So there's this through line of sort of poking gentle fun at stodgy academia that I really enjoyed. But since that isn't in the movie at all, I think people who watch the movie first can be confused with that as the narrative device in this. I really loved it, and I really loved the movie. They're both great. Again, I don't know how I've avoided The Princess Bride for so long in my life. The next few books are going to be books that I got from the library, so I don't have physical copies to show you. The first is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern, who is not the same person as the fictional S. Morgenstern of the same last name. Drat. This is a historical fantasy novel about a magical circus, and it's just so beautifully written, but it's really accessible. It's a sort of book that I feel like a wide variety of people can just pick up for fun and enjoy and get lost in the descriptive writing and the atmosphere. The circus is described in such a captivating way. And then the plot within it has a nice love story between the two protégés of these two magicians. And I just thought it was the sort of book that I could just widely recommend to people. So I'm widely recommending it. The next two books are kind of one big thing. The Orphan's Tales by Catherynne M. Valente, or Valente, I'm not sure which pronunciation is correct. Volume 1 is called In the Night Garden. Volume 2 is called In the Cities of Coin and Spice. And these are nested stories within stories. The premise is there's this girl in a garden. She lives in like the garden of the Sultan's palace because she's an outcast, but you don't really know, like, is she an orphan or a demon or a changeling or what? And she gets the chance to tell her stories to this boy who visits her in the garden, and the stories nest and lead to other stories, and each volume has within it two books that sort of stand on their own as individual sets of stories, but then eventually you realize that they all relate to each other, and it's all going to end up being the story of the girl in the garden, but the question is, how is it her story? And the writing of these books is so lush and so dark and at times very gruesome, but it's like dark, uncensored fairy tales of the creepy and weird and wildly imaginative variety. I was blown away, and if that sounds like something you would like, I would highly recommend these books. The last book I'm going to talk about is The Goblin Emperor by Katherine Addison, which is a pseudonym for Sarah Monette, who's written some books under her real name that I've never really had any interest in, and I don't know if I have any interest in them now. But this is her first book under this new name. The premise is that the emperor of the Elflands and all of his older sons are all killed in an airship crash at the beginning of the book, and our protagonist, Maya, is the youngest son of the emperor, and he lives in exile, and he is half goblin. And he is suddenly the emperor of the Elflands, and he has no idea what he's doing. And I loved this for several reasons. First of all, the world building is sort of steampunk influenced, but not too heavily. And there's also magic in this fantasy world, but it isn't a huge driving presence. It's just something that's sort of there. And I feel like there's just a lot of attention to detail. There is a lot of terminology that's a little tricky to wade through, and the names are really complicated, but I feel like it's used to create the world in a way that's totally worth it for me. And despite some of the reading being kind of dense, I felt like this was actually a very warm and compassionate book, which I really enjoyed. The character is just so likable. You just love him. But one thing I have to say about this book is that if you like a lot of action in your fantasy, this is not for you. This is very much politically driven, very much socially driven. Social etiquette is what drives this book. There is very little action. There is, I think, reference to a war that's happening off somewhere, but it's not a driving plot factor. And I honestly really, really appreciated the fact that she was able to write something that was so emotionally compelling without those elements that I think a lot of fantasy writers rely on. So that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed it. Bye for now.